All right, let's crack into a topic that, at first, might sound a little strange. How in the world do you sell something as simple as a wet wipe to a customer as complicated as an entire city government? I know it sounds kind of niche, but believe me, this is a multi-million-dollar market that runs on its own secret rulebook. And today, well, we're going to hand you the key. So let's start with the product itself, wet wipes. I mean, you probably don't give them a second thought. You've got them in your car, your bag, maybe a pack on your desk right now. They're simple, they're disposable, they seem totally unremarkable. But when you put them in the hands of a massive organization, they become this absolutely essential tool for public health and safety. But the product isn't the real story here. It's the customer. We're not talking about selling one pack of wipes to one person. No, we are talking about selling millions and millions of them to this sprawling network of public agencies, schools, subway systems, hospitals. Welcome to the world of business-to-government sales, or B2G. The scale is just enormous. So how do you even begin to do that? Well, I'll tell you this much. It is not about having the cheapest product on the shelf. Not even close. It's about mastering a really complex system of rules, relationships, and weirdly specific requirements. This right here, this is the playbook. It's your step-by-step guide on how to navigate this hidden market and come out on top. So for our case study, we're going to zoom in on the city of Incheon, South Korea. We'll start by digging into why this one city's public sector isn't just a market. It's what you could call a stable, lucrative, and always growing gold mine for products just like this. So why Incheon? What's the big deal? Well, first off, it's a massive international gateway. We're talking a huge airport, a major port. Millions of people are constantly flowing through its public spaces. Second, its economy is absolutely booming, which means more public buildings, more facilities, more everything. And maybe most important of all, the city is made up of dozens of public agencies, from the subway to the city parks, and they all buy their own supplies. For them, hygiene isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a fundamental part of public safety. Okay, so knowing the market is one thing, but if you actually want to sell something, you've got to know exactly who you're selling to, right? Who's got the budget? Who's actually making the call? Let's break down the key buyers inside the system. You see, the government isn't just one giant customer. It's really at least four totally different groups. First, you've got your big public corporations, like the Transit Authority. They need insane volumes of wipes. Then you have the smaller municipal agencies, using them for things like community centers and local events. Of course, there's the healthcare system. They need medical-grade sanitation and total reliability. And finally, you have the education system, where the #1 priority is student safety, and they demand very specific certifications. Every single one of these groups needs a different product and a completely different sales pitch.
And to really see how different their needs are, just look at these two examples. The Incheon Transit Corporation, they're buying for thousands of subway cars and bus stops. All they care about is volume and price. But a small health clinic out on a remote island, their biggest headache is just getting the stuff delivered. They need a supplier who can guarantee that delivery will show up even if it costs a little more. So you can see a one-size-fits-all strategy is guaranteed to fail.
Okay, now for the real insider's guide. Selling to the government isn't like selling to a regular business. There is a very, very specific rule book you have to play by. It's not just about how great your product is, it's about proving your company meets their strict legal requirements before you can even think about making a bid. Now, the single most important rule is something called the Direct Production Certificate. See, the government wants to buy directly from the source, not from some reseller just marking up the price. To get this certificate, you have to prove you are the one actually making the wipes. That means showing them everything: your registered factory, your own equipment, your production team on the payroll, and your quality control process. This is a huge barrier to entry for distributors, and it's a massive advantage for real manufacturers. And this is where it gets really strategic. The law actually forces government agencies to spend a certain percentage of their budget on products from specific types of companies. So, for example, they are legally required to spend at least 5% of their goods budget on products from women-owned businesses. These aren't just suggestions or nice ideas, they are legal mandates. If your company has one of these certifications, you basically have a powerful built-in advantage before the bidding even starts. But you want to know the real pro move? It's stacking these certifications. If your company can qualify as a woman-owned enterprise and also get certified as a social enterprise, you become this incredibly attractive supplier. Think about it. A purchasing manager who's trying to meet two different legal quotas can knock them both out with a single contract to you. It creates this advantage that is just, it's very, very hard for your competitors to beat. It's like a killer combo. So we get the market, we know who the buyers are, and we've learned the secret rules of the game. Now, let's put it all together into an actionable 3-step playbook for actually winning these contracts. The strategy here is actually pretty simple, but it's powerful. First, you use your local presence. Incheon, like a lot of places, has rules that give priority to local businesses for smaller contracts. It's the perfect way to get your foot in the door. Second, you have to master the specific online platforms where the government officials actually do their shopping. And third, you don't just sell wet wipes. No, you sell customized solutions for each of those buyer types we talked about earlier.
And mastering those platforms is absolutely critical. You can't just copy and paste your product listing and hope for the best. The main government site, G2B, that stands for Government to Business, is for all the general agencies, and they are focused on price and technical specs. But the school marketplace, S2B, or School to Business, well, that's used by teachers and principals. For them, the winning pitch has nothing to do with bulk discounts. It's all about student safety, non-toxic ingredients, and official certifications. Two different platforms means two completely different sales strategies.
Look, winning that first contract, that's huge. But it's really just the beginning. The short-term goal, sure, it's to make a sale. But the long-term goal, the real prize, is to become so valuable that the city government stops seeing you as just another supplier and starts seeing you as an indispensable partner. So the roadmap kind of looks like this. You begin in the entry phase, get all your certifications in order, and win those first smaller contracts with schools to build up a solid track record. Then you move into the expansion phase, using that great reputation to land bigger, long-term deals on the main platform with the big agencies. And finally, you reach the advancement phase. This is where you stop just selling wipes and you start selling solutions. Things like hygiene consulting, or maybe a smart system with sensors that automatically reorders supplies when a dispenser is running low. At that point, you've become part of the city's actual infrastructure. And that's our deep dive into the hidden world of public procurement. The playbook for selling wet wipes to a city shows us something really important. Sometimes the biggest opportunities aren't in inventing a brand new product, but in mastering the complex system for selling one that already exists. And it leaves us with a question for you. What are the hidden rulebooks and the secret legal advantages in your industry, just waiting for someone to come along and crack the code?